Hello, dear fans, friends, subscribers. This is your host Ram on your Cricket Happening show. To apologize that due to YouTube system issues, I could not talk about the India-New Zealand series where New Zealand swept India 2-0. They really gave India a real hiding in the series. Been really defeated, and New Zealand have done it with clinical efficiency, have done their homework well, and they have really framed the plans for every batsman, and they saw to it that it all came to fruition. And New Zealand big question mark in the whole entire series. Well, so I'm going to get into that because that is something which is sour grapes all over. In Bangladesh, we are talking about the second one-day international that happened between Bangladesh and Zimbabwe at Sylhet, and it was high scoring. Bangladesh were Zimbabwe almost won a very high scoring match, which it was a match, one has to say, full credit to Zimbabwe, chasing a total of 322 for 8, which was set by Bangladesh with Tommy. The other day, as you know, Bangladesh beat Zimbabwe by a margin of 169 runs, and that was the highest margin ever in Bangladesh history in ODIs, beat any opposition. And today, one game whereby he had scored the highest individual score for Bangladesh in one-day internationals. But today, he set a new record. He broke that record. Abdullah contributed 41 of 57 with 3 fours. Mohammad Mithun at the end thrashing an unbeaten 32 of just 18 balls, 3 fours and 1 6, and that enabled the. And just imagine this particular score was challenged by the Zimbabweans, especially considering the fact that they were down and out at 225 for 8. Yes, it was 225 for 7. Sorry, it was 225 for 7 in the 42nd over. And just imagine they're chasing a total of 322. There's only one batsman. There was Donald Tripano at the crease, who normally is a batsman who is not really known for his big hitting, Donald Tripano. And Mutumbodzi, yes, he can really, swing a few. But nobody thought that the match would be livened up to such an extent that finally the match came down to the wire where where Zimbabwe required 6 runs of the last ball, and Tripano and Mutumbodzi at the crease. So the number 8 and 9 batsmen at the crease, all the recognized batsmen into the pavilion, who would have actually given a chance to Zimbabwe. But what a tremendous hitting from this bloke, Donald Tripano, who got his maiden 50. Oh, really, one has to really toss our hats to this guy, Tripano, who really started thrashing the bowlers, and especially considering the partnership that they had, they added 80 runs in 45 deliveries. This was blitzkrieg, according to me, and Tripano definitely showing his I would say showing his new capability as a big hitter of the ball. Even the Zimbabwean captain Craig Irvine was extremely surprised when he saw Donald Tripano hitting the ball over the pickets. And that's what precisely happened with Tripano getting his maiden 50. And this innings is something that Tripano will definitely remember. What an innings from him. And he got company from Mutumbodzi, and both of them thrashed 85 runs of 40 balls to bring Zimbabwe close to victory with 20 runs required of the last over with these two batsmen at the crease. And the score was 305 at that stage in the final over. And just imagine this, the bowler was Al-Hamid Hussain, the pace bowler who was bowling, and he did one good thing, is that the wicket of Mutumbodzi of the second delivery, which left another 75 boundaries on the second ball. But imagine the 4 balls, the next 2 balls was crashed over the fence for 6s by Donald Tripano. And Amin Hussain definitely would have had a headache, because 17 runs required and 2 balls had already disappeared into the crowd. 2 consecutive 6s, and suddenly the Bangladeshi, there was absolute tension. The Bangladeshis were, I'm sure, they had their foot in the mouth, because Pano had already hit 2 6s. But Al-Amin Hussein came back very well after that to actually, I think he conceded, if I'm not wrong, he conceded just a single, and then the match came down, and then he bowled a dot ball, and then finally Tripano was left with 6 runs to get of the final delivery. All he managed, and that was it. But one has to say, one has to toss our hats to this Zimbabwean team. This Zimbabwean team, let me tell you, is looking all the more impressive. But it's a matter of these experienced blokes like Brendan Taylor, and Sean Williams and everybody to come to the party, which is not happening. And Brendan Taylor in particular, I think his form has been a bit erratic, to say the least. So let's have a look at the card of the Zimbabweans. But before that, just throw a look at the bowling from the Zimbabweans. Not really very good, but one guy who is impressing is Wesley Madiviri. He's just 19 years old. He has already showed his batting prowess the other day. Now today he once again showed, and today he was rewarded as he got his maiden 50 in one-day international. It's only his second match of his international career. He contributed 52 or 57 balls with 5 fours, and he looks to be a real find for Zimbabwe. The other opener today did a very good job. His name is T.S. Hukamwe, and he did a good job as well. He got his maiden 50, 51 of 70 deliveries with 5 fours and 2 sixes. So he definitely showed some real bravado there, I would say. Chakaba was out for 2. Brendan Taylor, as I said, has been the problem for Zimbabwe. He's such an experienced player. He was out for 11. Sean Williams left for 14. Madiviri has been impressive. Sikandar Raza contributed a quicksilver 66 of 50 deliveries, which included 5 fours and 2 sixes. Mutumbami, 19 of 17 with 3 boundaries. And they had 3 maiden 50s here. One was the opener Kanhun Kambe. The second was the talented Wesley Madiviri, the 19 years old bloke. And then they had Donald Tripano, the tailender, getting his 50 out of 28 deliveries with 2 fours and big sixes. And Mumbai was not Bangladesh series because it's a 3-match ODI series. So by winning this particular second match, they've already won the series. But it is more about the way the Zimbabweans played. As I said, it's a mixture of a lot of youngsters in the team. The experienced blokes being Sikandar Raza, Craig Irvine, Brendan Taylor, and I think Brendan Taylor failed to the bat. He's a good series. It's very high time. I think Brendan Taylor has to the run. She's such an experienced player. Looking at the bowling here, Shafiul Islam suffered under the onslaught of the Mutumbodzi and Tripano partnership. Shafiul Islam 9 was 1 for 76. Al-Amin Hussein held his nerve, but he contributed 85 runs of his 10 overs with just 1 wicket. So both of them being thrashed. And one has to say that the due factor was there. The ball, as Mashrafi Murtaza, the Bangladeshi captain, rightly pointed out in the interview, that it was not easy to grip the ball because of the due factor. So one can probably say, but again, hitting in such a manner is not something that you have seen. 1 for 52 from Murtaza. Shafiul Islam, I have already spoken about. Mehdi Hassan Miraj does not know what is the reason. After bowling 7 overs, 1 for 25, he was not used at all. Probably due to the due factor, I reckon. Taijul Islam, 352. So, dear friends, subscribers, so I just want to base on this, which was as exciting as it can ever get. A real thriller happening at Silhouette, where Bangladesh won the ODI series. But what a match we had here, and this is what matches. Just on a brief note, I would like to say here that in the Pakistan Super League the other day, we saw that the fastest century was hit by Really Rizzo. And today, there was another record that was set. Ben Dunk of Australia, who was actually playing for the Lahore Qalandars, got the team to victory by raising a score of 209 for 5. And Ben Dunk, he hit 93 runs of 43 balls, which included 10 sixes, which is a record in Pakistan Super League history. And Lahore Qalandars made 209 for 5. And the Quetta Gladiators were all out for 172. Qalandars winning by 37 runs. So that is one other update I wanted to give you. just because of the record that was set. I'm not going to go into much of this, but Sri Lanka and West Indies faced off in the T20 series now after the ODI series is done and dusted. And Sri Lanka definitely, I think, West Indies, I think they are having, I mean, as you know, Sri Lanka and West Indies, let me tell you, friends and subscribers, we are talking about the 2020 World Cup, but two teams which are still to qualify for the T20 World Cup in Australia. And those two teams are into battle here tomorrow in this match which I'm talking about between Sri Lanka and West Indies, which right now is definitely in favor of the Sri Lankans on the home team. And Sri Lanka and West Indies are the ones who are placed in 7th and 8th positions, I reckon, in the rankings, and they are the ones who have to actually win. They have to actually qualify for the T20 World. There is Kieron Pollard has to get in some good form. Andre Russell, the man who can, the game changer as we call him, is into the team. They had Dwayne Bravo coming back to talk about the Sri Lankan team, not far behind. I think it was against Bangladesh, but nevertheless he really showed what he was capable of. That this old war horse is still firing, and one has to say, battle at Palakkale, the first T20 of the series starting between West Indies and Sri Lanka, and all eyes will be on that. As you know how important T20 matches are, with the T20 World Cup in Australia coming up in the month of October. And also, on a very brief note, the second one-day international is going to be played with the Aussies and the South Africans. South Africa, one step in the ODI series, take on the Aussies, and that match should also be a sort of a really interesting tussle, according to me. Well, dear fan subscribers, I think that's about it as far as waxing eloquent on today's Cricket Happenings show is concerned. It is time for me to wind up my show and bid you all a very good night. But not promising you weekdays. I can't promise you with my with my office chores and home chores. It becomes incredible. Weekend is something I promise you, but I never tire of cricket, as you all know. So keep an eye. It's not only about the Cricket Happenings show. You don't find me here, you find me on Twitter. If you don't find me on Twitter, you find me on my cricket website, www.cricket-status.com. So you can always connect to me at any time, and it's always been a pleasure talking on cricket. Whether I am actually talking to you about cricket, whether I am writing about cricket, or I'm just tweeting about cricket. So go ahead and enjoy the fun. If you really like it, go subscribe, enjoy it, spread the word to a lot of people, so that there are more and more people joining on Twitter, more and more people hitting my cricket website, more and people watching Cricket Happenings on YouTube as well. With this being said, good night from here, your host Ram. Thank you.